Ring the bell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Slam Society, and welcome to my review show here of AEW Dynamite's Blood and Guts 2024 from July 24th at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's see how we go here. I was going to review AEW Dynamite 250, but when I found out that Ospreay and MJF had a 1 hour match, I was like, no, thank you. Okay, because they can have as much of an amazing match as possible to, you know, make everyone already forget about Ospreay versus Swerve only a few weeks prior. And everyone will forget about that match within a couple of weeks too, because they're a dime a dozen at this point. Anyway, be prepared for a not so scintillating review here. We open the show with Marquez, the interviewer, wanting words with Will Ospreay in some parking lot somewhere. Don't know where it is. It's obviously not in the arena because they needed to take his car and get to the arena after the fact. So this already didn't make much sense to me. Anyway, Will Ospreay finds out that his tires were slashed and he knew that it was MJF. Will asks Mr. Marquez if he has a car. He lets him know he does. He wants the keys to the car. And they ran off to the car because Will was going to speed off in his car to not finally actually fight MJF or get into some sort of physical altercation with him despite what happened. No, he wants to speed all the way there just to cut a promo on him and let him know that he's got another title shot. So as he gets in the car, he's obviously in the left-hand side of the car, and we know that everywhere else, the driver's seat's on the other side. So Marquez asks him if he's ever driven in this country before. Will says no in a way where you can't really hear it on the audio. And Marquez screams as Will takes off, and it's not like he went, you know, like Chuck Norris in Walker, Texas Ranger, like in the car, like it sped off. No, he kind of just took off like a normal person would in any car, and Marquez screams. I bet they did this in one take because it needed another. This is the problem with quality control with All Elite Wrestling. And there's more of this later on. They're trying to make Will something that he's just not as a performer. I'm sorry. I know he's a very athletic guy. I don't really have a problem with him, except most of his matches have the exact same way of psychology, kick out of everything. Everyone takes him to his limit. It's getting old really quickly. There's no layers to his character whatsoever. Bruv. We get some highlights of last week's MJF Will match, again, which will be forgotten about in a few weeks. Get ready. I didn't like this show at all. Blood and Guts begins. MJF is introduced by some cheerleaders. Okay, I like that. Nice, different. But MJF back being a heel is forced. What a waste of time that Devil storyline was to just revert him back to being a heel. Because you don't know what else to do with him. Because Adam Cole is not going to be ready for a while. You didn't think to maybe have MJF have to deal with the United Kingdom for a while. That group means nothing after haunting that company for all of last year and doing all the things that they did, all the dastardly things that they did, and they don't even want to have a comeuppance against MJF. He's just dealing with Daniel Garcia and then Will Ospreay. That's who makes him turn heel. Daniel Garcia, the guy who was already off TV for months on end after failing once again to climb the echelon and beat Christian Cage. I'm telling you, I'm going to poke holes in all. There's more holes in the booking in this company than the Iraqi Navy. The vibe of AEW feels off. It doesn't feel like the AEW that I remember in 2021. MJF comes out for his promo, talks about beating Ospreay. He is more suited to being a heel, but the pretense to the latest heel turn really hurts. MJF starts talking about dead grandmas because that's what we've come to know about MJF and his heel persona. We have to go down the low road, and I don't have a problem with going down the low road, but it gets a little bit old after a while. He talks about the International Championship, and then he renames the belt for the third time after being the All Atlantic title, then the International title. Now it's the American title, which looks like it has a Texan flag instead of an American flag. I had to laugh when the streamers went off. That was a funny moment. You know, the flag comes down, but the streamers completely missed MJF, which didn't have the same effect. And then here comes Will Ospreay, steaming mad, dressed like a slob, dressed in his football shirt, and whatever. I had a meeting with Tony Khan and Christopher Daniels because we still don't have a figurehead that can announce these things. It's always, I spoke to Tony here, I spoke to Tony there, Tony said this, Tony said that. Boring, boring, boring. Cheesy fucking reactions from MJF. The segment, this whole angle, rushed in one segment. This could have gone through a couple of segments on the show where eventually we found out about this. Like anyone gives a shit because we've already seen the match and we're just going to see another one of them kicking out of each other's finishes and all that shit. It's the same old shit every single time with AEW. I don't care if anyone watching this does not agree with what I have to say and thinks I'm hate watching. I see it for what it is. The bald referee walks into a room for a coin toss to see who's going to open Blood and Guts and have the advantage. And Christopher Daniels, like one of the higher ups, is on the ground, knocked out, hurt. And the Elite are standing over him and don't appear to be huffing and puffing, not even one or two of them, pumped up from the attack. They're just standing there. Again, psychology. What would happen if this were real? They'd all be at least huffing and puffing a little bit. Redo the segment, have someone go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Daniels isn't moving. There's no medical personnel coming in. The referee didn't even seem that concerned over his boss being on the floor and unconscious. He just rolled his eyes that the Elite won the toss and just walked off solemnly and quietly, not thinking, shit, maybe I need to get some medical personnel for Christopher Daniels. They don't see what I see. A lot of you fans don't see what I see. Who is agenting this and not thinking, hey, let's try and make this look as real to real life as possible? What would happen if this were real? How would people naturally act when they see shit like this? That is a big fucking no-no. There's no way that referee would just roll his eyes and just walk off solemnly. Get the fuck out of here. Moving forward, Chris Jericho defends the FTW title against Minoru Suzuki. Minoru Suzuki has only ever beaten the Butcher and QT Marshall in singles matches in AEW out of 9 singles matches over the last 3 years. This guy comes in to put people over. Why do we fucking care? Why do we think he's a threat? Because he no-sells for the first 75% of the match and then cops a finisher and loses. Good stuff, guys. Real fucking exciting shit. Way to bring in casual fans. This is going to go down the gurgler as far as the ratings concerned. They start up with their back and forth chops, horse shit. I think to myself, yeah, they do this for 10 minutes. A casual fan tunes in, likes wrestling a little bit, sees a guy with a gut and weird chest slapping an old Japanese dude back and forth for minutes on end. Yeah, you're really gonna get some ratings there, boys. It wasn't entertaining to me. Jericho botched his springboard. Imagine this. Imagine having a 14-minute match where you know the result ahead of time. Don't care what you think. If you think I'm being rude, if you think I'm hate watching, good for you. This was a waste of time. Judas effect. Whoop-de-doo. We knew he was winning. Big fucking whoop. Minoru lays him out with a Gotch pile driver. Suzuki gets attacked by Jericho's boys, and then Shibata comes into the ring looking like he's dressed like a regular fan, like he's not anything special, makes the save. Who gives a shit? Willow is backstage with an interview that lasts about 3.5 seconds because this is the cookie cutter bullshit that I've gone on and on and on and on and on and on about for years in pro wrestling. And thankfully, a lot of the companies have cut it out, but AEW still go down that lazy route. She's got the CML title on her, which looks like it's made of cardboard. And then within 3.5 seconds, Chris Statlander attacks her. There's what's his name? Can't even remember his name. Not being rude, I actually can't remember his name. Stokely Hathaway, excuse me. She's attacked and they're talking about a title match whenever. Who gives a shit? It's the CMLL women's title. Who cares? Why do you care about this shit? Interview interruptions are the laziest way of continuing an angle in pro wrestling, and AEW still have not learned their lesson from 3 years ago. Renee is backstage with Daniel Bryan, who gets interrupted by Jeff Jarrett talking about blah, 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 the Owen, and pumping him up for his title match at All In against Swerve Strickland. Cool. Britt and Sheeta are next in a matchup here on AEW Blood and Guts. They have a history, which means more, and they had a better match here than Jericho did with Minoru Suzuki. We knew the result ahead of time. We knew Britt was winning. We're not throwing any swerves in here. Mercedes Monet comes out after the match, talks about CEO versus DMD, and then says no, but then proceeds to have Kamille make her debut. 6 months after being hired, it took Tony Khan to pull his crayon out and put her in the storylines. 6 months it took Kamille to make this attack. Now she's siding with Mercedes Monet to do the whole MJF Wardlow thing again, I'm sure, down the line. Good for Kamille. Big fan of hers. Hope it goes well for her. Did not think that she should have signed with AEW in the first place. I wish she went to NXT, but it is what it is. After this, and I'm sorry I skimmed through that, but honestly, Britt needs to beat Mercedes. That's what I think. There's a patriarchy interview. Nick Wayne is selected to be in the Rumble, the Rampage Rumble, which will be happening on Rampage, which I will not be watching. Then it has a go at some random guy. That was my note, right? Had no idea who it was. And it was Kip Sabian. And I'm like, he's still in AEW. I haven't heard anything about him since he was wearing the fucking box on his head. Then we get a park squash match against some like guy called Boulder, who hit an impressive moonsault onto the canvas and missed him. Excalibur went on about MJF wrestling in CMLL, and the guy he mentioned, I'm like, no one knows who that is. Casual fans won't care. Again, your company is not looking to seek out the casual fan. Park won with a brainbuster, waste of time. Swerve interview with his team. Darby wants a bit of Swerve. The Acclaimed suddenly want a bit of Swerve. And then they want to talk about their blurring. It was the best of times, the blurst of times. Their boring plight for winning the tag titles again. Sorry, the Acclaimed are so far gone now. I am not interested. Mark Briscoe tries to get them to calm down, and I'm like, I don't even know what this angle's all about. Mariah May makes her entrance, which makes me smile because I like Mariah May, but we're getting 2 squash matches here back to back. This is what happens when we have blood and guts. We tend to have a lot of filler before the big show, before the big main event. I believe she's against Caitlin Alexis. No nameplate given for her. Mariah dominated and looked good, but it was a squash match after we just saw one. Mariah wins. Tony Storm's theme song hits. It's not her, though. But then she shows up, and it feels like we've already seen this angle, didn't we? Did we already see people come out after a match? Shibata and after a promo, Ospreay and Jericho's boys coming out, and it seems like Kamille coming out. We've got a lot of cut and paste here. Just saying. Feels like the same. Time for Blood and Guts, the main event of the evening here. And we're getting through this real quick, everybody. It is Team Elite against Team AEW. We start off with Jack Perry and Darby Allin fighting. Jack screws Darby up quite a bit early on. Nick Jackson was in next with a suitcase. And we know we're just going to have this match being piled full of shit, right? Nick smiles at the camera, waves at the camera, sorry, when it's blood and guts and supposed to be serious. Briscoe was made for this. Mark Briscoe was the MVP of this match and of this show. He was made for this match. Everything he did looked good. It looked real. It didn't look hokey. It wasn't a bunch of shit. Matt Jackson was in, chewing like he's a tough guy when he's tiny and overrated. Botched buckle bomb into the back of Briscoe with Darby Allin at one stage. The advantage to the Elite for most of this match, though. But unfortunately, every time they're on top, they're no selling any sort of exhaustion that they've taken from their opponents because they're not thinking about it. Because let's be honest, I believe the Young Bucks only wrestle about 28 times a year on average. So I think because the fact that they're not in the ring a lot of the time, they're forgetting about things like selling. They are forgetting about a lot of things, and that's why a lot of the stuff that they've done over the last year and a half, 2 years, has been the drizzling shits. Thank you. Okada and Max are there, and Max? Who's Max? Oh, Max Caster. I was losing interest because it was getting ridiculous. This is a match full of spots that were pre-planned and obviously pre-planned. There's no one backstage that has any control over what these people do. They can do whatever they want. They put tacks in Max Caster's mouth and super kick him, and it has no consequences for the guy later on. It meant nothing. It was just for the fuck of it. 18 minutes left of this match at one stage, and I'm like, come on. The match finally begins properly with 15 minutes left of the show. I thought Swerve being in this was a bit odd. Didn't seem to mix and match very well. Didn't know why there was a double stack of tables on the outside and why Bowens had to go through it. Again, it's spots for spots' sake. It doesn't make any sense. I don't give a fuck if there's a hole in the ring, or sorry, a hole in the cage. There's no reason for them to go outside and climb. Why are they climbing the fucking cage for? Oh, he's trying to get at him, so he wants to get away, so he climbs the cage to get away from him. They did this last time they did this shit. One of the Young Bucks was on top of the fucking cage, and they like spilled fucking tacks into the ring. And I'm like, that was all for the sake of it. You did it for the sake of it because you had the spot in your mind. You're not thinking about what makes sense. Again, I'm sorry. There's going to be AEW fans out there that probably never even got this far into this review, but this was fucking horse shit. The whole show was written with a crayon. It is so snake bit at this point. It is fucking laughable. No heart, no story, just stunts. Briscoe with the J Drillers. That was a highlight. Briscoe was the highlight of this match. Darby, though, he hit that monkey bar coffin drop, which was probably the best spot of the match. Very cool. That should have been the last spot. It was so spectacular, it was forgotten about in a minute. Because I'm thinking to myself here, where is this angle going? Where does the Elite go from here when they lose this? Because they're definitely losing it because they've won everything else. Their biggest angles never go anywhere. Just like they did with the Devil storyline, this is going nowhere. No one's taking over the company. This is going to dissipate very soon. The chair shot to Jack Perry's head was not necessary. If you're bringing out a bit of lighter fluid to set the guy on fire, you didn't need to do any of this. He was already locked up. You're just doing it for the fuck of it. Darby Allin is not going to commit murder on live pay-per-view. Sorry, not live pay-per-view, live television. He can douse him in lighter fluid all he wants. It makes no sense to go that far. These are just kids, and I call them kids. They might be older than me, but I'm probably older than them. These are kids just deciding what they're going to do because it will be cool. Wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Just like how the Anarchy in the Arena match had all this ridiculous fucking bullshit, which had no real effect on the end of the match. This is how we ended Blood and Guts after this massive angle that's gone on for months. Disagree with me all you want, argue with me all you want. I invite anyone to have a debate with me about this. You mean to tell me this angle ends after all this time? You have the Elite lose this match after all this time because one fuckface wants a shot at some other fuckface's title. He wants a shot at the title and he's going to light him on fire. And I think it was Matt Jackson. He's begging him not to do it, even though Matt Jackson's not like tied up or anything. He could just grab Darby by the fucking calves and take him down. No, he's just sitting there on the floor begging him not to do it. So Darby wants a title shot. Jackson says he can have a title shot. Then Darby says, no, I want you to quit. So then he just quits. And I'm like, what a fucking shit ending after all of that fucking crazy shit. Just like doing an hour-long match and the guy wins by putting a little diamond ring on his finger and knocking the guy out. You made all of this whole match about a TNT title shot. Who gives a fuck about the TNT title? I think the only time people ever gave a fuck about that title was with Brody Lee and Cody and Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. Other than that, no one's ever given a flying fuck about that belt. And you made this whole thing end up being about that. Get the fuck out of here. I don't know why I put myself through this. That company is snake bit. Their fucking angles never go anywhere. It's cut and paste, fucking copy and paste bullshit. It's fucking interruptions for interviews. It's attacks after the match. There is nothing creative going on there. It is the same shit that I was complaining about 3 fucking years ago. Get that little dickhead away from the booking once and for all. Thank you for joining me here on the Slam Society. I'm Karlifornia. I'm giving this show a 3 out of 10. That's all it's worth. Probably less. I really hope you've enjoyed this review. I'm not responding to any tweets. I'm already angry enough that I wasted my time on this. Thank you, and we will see you down the road.